and how she expressed it should be saved, because it's part of the history of education.
Well, it was Aunt Mattie. She
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
it had to be her to get it done. And we all loved her.
Well, you know, in studying the different philosophers of education, including John Dewey, what to me is so outstanding about Marietta Johnson, she was the only one that I know of, other than A.S. Neal in London, and I think his school is terrible, but she's the only one that continued for 30 years. John Dewey only had his school for 8, and he was financially backed from Columbia University. And so many of the others just wrote and didn't demonstrate it. And so she stands out to me as really a great person.
Well, she had
in educational philosophy and
she had
demonstrating.
two or three, we might call them satellite schools that she.
Oh, she did indeed, Ronald.
That she, what do I want to say?
Well, you went to one of them.
Yes.
Even then it was
Greenwich, Connecticut.
Well, before we go on with any more conversation, Bob's probably set up, aren't you? And what was yourselves first?
Okay. I'm Dr. Ronald Mershon, from Fairhope, Alabama. I was born on August the 29th, 1901. And I got my schooling in Fairhope. My first schooling was with Mrs. Marietta Johnson in a little cottage on Church Street, just about a half a block from Fairhope Avenue. And there were 6 students. My sister was one. Two children of Mrs. Johnson's, and Raymond Dyson. Those were the students.
And Eleanor Couture.
Eleanor wasn't a student, as I remember.
I didn't remember that she was either.
Yes, she was.
But perhaps she was.
Well, she might have been, but she was, maybe it was a little older. Eleanor Couture. May have been a little bit, because I don't remember her either. I just remember the other children. And I don't remember very much, except that we sat around in a circle. I don't remember whether we had little chairs or whether we sat on the floor, probably on the floor. And we worked with crayon and made little paper objects, and then we were told stories, and that's about all I remember of that. And I don't remember exactly how long it was when the school moved to another building about a block and a half from this present one, and then the school was able to enlarge somewhat because of a little more room. Mrs. Johnson felt that children should have a lot of recreation, music, as well as the studies. And the first few years were books were not used, so that we really started in kindergarten. And when I was 8 years old, I transferred to the public school because of a very dear friend of the family's who was a very outstanding teacher. And my mother wanted me to go there. And I went to the public school until the 7th grade, and then I transferred back to the organic school for my high school work.
Ronald, do you remember what the name of the teacher in the public school was that your mother?
Yeah, Mrs. Ora Sweet. Her husband was worked in the Michon Mercantile Company and also had a fairly large orange orchard, orange and grapefruit.
Mrs. Sweet taught the first grade. She did when I was there.
Well, she taught 3 grades.
3rd grade?
Yeah.
Do you want Ruth to come up to maybe that part of their ages and what she remembers, and then we'll take it and go into the high school setting?
Yeah.
Ruth, would you tell us?
I'm Ruth LaMecca, sister of Dr. Michon, living in Montrose, Alabama. But I lived in Fairhope the first part of my life. And I went to the school when I was 3 years old, but mostly to help amuse a little Mrs. Johnson's little boy. And Mrs. Johnson had asked my mother if she would let me come over there. We could play together. So from there, in the organic school at that time, I don't remember too much about what was going on. 80 years is a lot of time that's gone by to remember. And I don't think that I would remember.
How long were you there, Ruth, before you went to the public school?
I went to the public school in the 1st grade.
So you were really just kindergarten age and even younger than that with Mrs. Johnson and her group.
I wish that we had stayed in the organic school, because